Stadia is rapidly approaching its second anniversary, and while I will be making a video on that matter, it definitely got me thinking about cloud gaming in general. So today's discussion topic is about the medium as a whole and talking about where it stands in the here and now, because genuinely speaking, I think cloud gaming is in a great position. Between the likes of Google Stadia, Nvidia GeForce Now, and Xbox Cloud Gaming, we have a pretty good picture at what the future holds. But by saying that, I'm also implying that at this point in time, neither of these services or any other service for that matter can actually fit the needs of everyone. Stadia currently dominates convenience, GeForce Now performance, xCloud content, all three of which are super important pillars in delivering the perfect cloud gaming experience that everyone wants to be a part of. What that means is that right now we're in a build-up phase where every company and their platform or service is currently trying to improve on what they have. Stadia's recently been adding plenty of new features that try and make it establish itself more as a platform than just a service, and that is a strength Stadia has going for it alone. It still remains as the only cloud gaming option that's trying to be a full ecosystem within itself rather than being an additional service or add-on to your current experience. This is both good and bad depending on how you look at it, but one thing's for certain, if Google continues to push the platform and continues to invest in it, it will have some very unique benefits compared to its competitors. What Stadia lacks most of though is content. Right now, the Google Stadia library is sitting at about 200 games, and while that's not bad by any means, there are certainly big names that are missing. To top it off, there's a bit of an uncertain aura surrounding the platform as a whole because we don't really get much communication in terms of a roadmap on what to expect. Both games and features can drop out of the blue, and while it does make for a nice surprise, I don't think it's what the Stadia community needs to hear from Google right now. From what I gather, most people just want to be reassured that Stadia is going to continue to grow and is in it for the long haul, and a Google exec saying that doesn't really instill confidence as much as games being announced ahead of time. This is the very reason why something like Logo Gate, as the Stadia community likes to call it, is such a big deal every time a big title comes out and there isn't a Stadia logo at the end. People need that sort of reassurance that their favorite game is coming to their favorite platform. And that's not something that Stadia has established well in the 2 years that it's been here. But now let's focus on GeForce Now. With their recent announcement of the 3080 tier, they've really stood out in performance. Seriously, it's mind-blowingly impressive stuff, and I really can't wait for the rest of cloud gaming to catch up on that front. But what they severely lack on is what Google Stadia does so well, and that's sheer convenience. It can absolutely be a hassle getting into games. Even now, as someone who uses GeForce Now a lot, there are a few things that definitely bug me every time I boot up a game on there. My first and main annoyance has to be two-factor authentication. For some people, they need to input this for Steam. Luckily, it just happens with Ubisoft Connect for me. But it is annoying that every single time I launch a game that happens to be on Ubisoft Connect, I need to grab my phone and input this code over and over again. And while I know this might sound like nitpicking to some, there's a lot more to it. For example, let's say I'm playing on my Shield TV Pro, I'm gonna need to have a keyboard ready to input that two-factor authentication, and I can't just have my controller. And that applies to launching certain games in general. Some of them require you to have mouse and keyboard input to actually get started and play the game with a controller. And recently, there's been some noticeable inconsistencies when it comes to actually streaming your games. For example, GFN does boast RTX support, but not every RTX enabled game actually supports GeForce Now. These sorts of things add up and they're not fun to deal with, and I really do hope that Nvidia is taking a look at them and figuring out a way to actually help solve these issues at least in some way. And now let's talk about Xbox game streaming, the king of content at this point in time in the cloud space by far. Just yesterday, they launched Halo Infinite's multiplayer, and the week before, Forza Horizon 5, which is easily a competitor for Game of the Year in my books. And that's before we even bring up the fact that there's the rest of the Xbox first-party studio lineup, as well as great third-party titles like Scarlet Nexus, Back 4 Blood, and even Football Manager 2022. All of which is included at an insanely low value cost of a subscription fee that has the tagline of the best deal in gaming for a reason. But what it doesn't do well is exactly what Nvidia has just proven to do extremely well, and that's performance. It by far seems to be the most inconsistent in that category when compared to all of its peers from person to person. It seems like you're either going to have an amazing experience using Xbox Cloud Gaming, or you're going to have an absolutely horrible one. While I would certainly argue that they seem to have locked down a pretty decent latency, they definitely haven't locked down the video feed. Pixelation, weird scanlines, artifacting, you name it. I've seen it all on Xbox Cloud Gaming, and it's certainly hindered my overall thoughts of the platform and service. Recently, that does appear to be changing. Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite's multiplayer both look really good in my testing. That being said, when compared to its peers, it's still clear that it's lacking. But it is worth noting that they are working on this very issue, and I do think it's only a matter of time before they nail it. But what isn't made clear here is whether or not they plan on offering anything higher than 1080p streaming, as it doesn't seem like it's a focus whatsoever right now, which really is a shame when you have some great looking games arriving on the platform day and date. You're losing visual quality both on just the game running at 1080p, but also the stream being limited to a 1080p bitrate. It's also very interesting to think about how they're going to continue to improve this service as other cloud gaming platforms start to improve theirs. As I mentioned before, Nvidia's already gone out of the gate with their new 3080 tier, and it's certainly more powerful than the Xbox Series X server blades already. And when it comes to cloud gaming, that's not just an improvement on visual fidelity, but latency as well. Once again, these are important discussions to have, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out for them. Overall though, I have to say, I'm extremely excited with where cloud gaming stands right now because as I stated, everyone seems to be excelling at something and lacking in others. This really is the perfect situation here because this is going to encourage them to compete with each other and catch up where they're lacking. Competition breeds innovation. That's always been the case, and the more parties getting involved, the more that things are going to be innovating at a faster pace. To the parties I didn't mention here, such as PlayStation Now, I really want to see them focus on expanding the availability of PS Now not just to PC and PlayStation consoles, but to Android, iOS, and much more like other platforms and services in the cloud. And my message to Amazon Luna is that they need to hurry up and get out of the United States of America. That's only one country and they need to start expanding to other regions. Many of us here on YouTube and other content creators can't even access Amazon Luna to begin with. I am genuinely shocked that they haven't expanded yet. Until it gets here, I can't give you my fair assessment of the service. But what I think cloud gaming has certainly established now is that it is here to stay, and it is improving at a rapid pace. It's going to be a major part of the video game landscape, and frankly speaking, whoever's denying it simply isn't willing to accept what's coming. These are just some of the major players getting invested into it as well. We already know Tencent is doing their own thing as well as other major corporations across the sea. Who comes out on top is still anyone's guess, and I have no doubt that there will be somebody who ends up taking the lead at some point. But I also see a future where I'm subscribed to multiple of these services to play the games I want to play, much in the very same way that I currently own multiple consoles. I have no doubt that eventually I'll probably have a personal favorite that I tend to play on, but I'm never going to play on just one. Either way, that wraps up my thoughts on the state of cloud gaming. Do let me know yours down in the comment section below, I would love to hear them. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. As always, this has been The Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming and VR related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.